Hey, what's up? What do you look like?
Oh, what? Uh, I've been for a walk, and it's pretty cold outside. I just came in.
From the outside? Excuse the pun, but I thought that according to you, there is no outside because power already exists everywhere and always has. And we all know that power is not only repressive but also productive. So, where should be the room for an outside?
Uh, you mean that there is no outside of power? Yes, that's true. Uh, but nevertheless, it is perhaps useful here to distinguish between two forms of the outside. So, exteriority, and the outside in a more general sense, dehors. First of all, power is referring to exteriority. Take the history of madness, which is always the relevant example for me. At some point in the emergence of modernity, power creates an exteriority for madness. I always wanted to say heterotopia. So outside the cities, it defines and creates spaces in which the insane are housed together with other people deemed dangerous or useless in order to separate them from the rest of society. Here, power acts as a prodigious machinery designed to exclude, and you can obviously also think of the prison here.
That's what I mean. There's no real outside because the power has always already been there. And it's not just about such externalized institutions or remote spaces. I'm also thinking of something like censorship or the definition of the boundary between true and false, not only power, but also knowledge.
Yes. But as I said, that's only one aspect of the outside, namely exteriority. The other aspect is the outside in the sense of dehors, and that is rooted in something completely different, namely literature.
As if literature wasn't touched by power.
It is, without any doubt. You can already see this from the fact that it is subject to censorship, but it works differently from a prison or a psychiatric hospital.
Can you explain further, please?
Well, literature points to a different kind of outside. At least it gestures towards it. I tried to show this in a series of essays in the 1960s that all dealt with writers such as Mallarmé, Artaud, and Bataille, but above all with Jorge Borges and Maurice Blanchot.
That's a pretty wild compilation of writers that nobody actually knows, isn't it?
Well, according to me, they all had something in common.
What?
Well, in one way or another, they have dealt with the phenomenon of speech.
You mean language?
No, speech. In one way or another, Mallarmé, Artaud, and Blanchot realized that the subject that speaks does not realize itself in and through it, but on the contrary, fragments, disperses, scatters, disappearing in that naked space that is the space of language in its raw state.
I always thought literature had something to do with an artist expressing him or herself, turning an innermost self outwards.
Well, many modern writers are questioning precisely that. They no longer want to portray themselves, but are interested instead in a self representation of language. Writing in our day has moved infinitely closer to its source, to this disquieting sound which announces from the depths of language, once we attend to it, the source against which we seek refuge and towards which we address ourselves.
I don't see how, in this way, you can escape power.
Of course, these writers do not simply stand outside, but neither do they celebrate a subject that could resist power right away and on its own. Uh, Instead, they draw attention to the very sphere in which the crucial decisions are made, namely the sphere of discourse.
That's what you mean by the source against which we seek refuge and towards which we address ourselves?
Exactly. And even if the sciences, jurisprudence, or government are seemingly far removed from any literature, they also have to do with this level of discourse that is speaking, and therefore also this disquieting sound that can be heard from the depths of language.
I have the impression as if you yourself are also a kind of writer, especially when you talk about this sound, this great, incessant, and disordered buzzing of discourse.
No. I'm not a writer. I'm just a puppet. Actually, an empty shell. So, in a sense, an outside myself.
Okay, thank you anyway. I guess I have to think about it on a walk. I'll go outside.